What would you do if you discovered your husband of 10 years has been living a completely different life just 3 miles away from your home? Amina thought she had the perfect marriage: a loving husband, two beautiful children, a comfortable life. But every Friday evening, her husband Kunle would leave for what he called business meetings in the city. 10 years of Fridays, 10 years of the same excuse, until the day she decided to follow him. What she discovered wasn't just another woman, it wasn't just betrayal. It was something so shocking, so impossible, that it would shake her understanding of everything she thought she knew about the man she married. This is Amina's story, and by the end, you'll question whether love and lies can ever truly be separated. Stay with me. Amina and Kunle had been married for 10 beautiful years. They met in university, fell in love over shared dreams and late night conversations, and built a life together in a modest but comfortable home on the outskirts of their town. To everyone who knew them, they were the model couple. Kunle was a successful businessman who ran a small import company. Amina was a primary school teacher beloved by her students. They had two children, a daughter, 8 years old, and a son, 6, who filled their home with laughter and chaos in equal measure. But there was one thing about their marriage that had always puzzled Amina, though she'd learned to accept it over the years. Every Friday evening, without fail, Kunle would dress in his best clothes, kiss her and the children goodbye, and drive off in his car. He would return late Saturday afternoon, sometimes Sunday morning, explaining that he had business meetings with suppliers in the city 3 hours away. It's just how business works, he would say with a tired smile. These suppliers, they like to wine and dine on weekends. I have to maintain the relationships. For 10 years, Amina believed him. After all, his business was thriving, money was never tight. He always returned with small gifts for the children: toys, sweets, little tokens of his travels, and he was always loving, attentive, present in every other way. But doubt, once planted, grows like a weed in the garden of trust. It started small. A few months ago, Amina noticed that Kunle's phone habits had changed. He would step outside to take calls. He would turn his phone face down on the table during dinner. Small things, easy to dismiss. Then came the slip. One Friday evening, as Kunle was preparing to leave, their daughter asked innocently, "Papa, why do you always smell different when you come back?" Kunle laughed it off. "Different? How do I smell different?" "Like flowers," the girl said. "Mama smells like chalk from school. You smell like flowers when you come home." Kunle's smile froze for just a second, so brief that only Amina noticed. Then he laughed again, ruffled their daughter's hair, and said, "The hotel I stay at must use flowery soap. I'll bring you some next time." But Amina couldn't shake the comment. That night, lying in bed alone as she did every Friday, she made a decision. Next Friday, she would follow him. The following Friday arrived with the weight of anticipation. Amina told Kunle she would be taking the children to her mother's house for the weekend. She arranged for her sister to pick them up from school instead. When Kunle left that evening, Amina waited 5 minutes, then got into her car and followed at a safe distance. Her heart pounded as she trailed his familiar sedan through the streets of their town. She expected him to take the highway toward the city, as he always claimed. But instead, he turned onto a smaller road, the road to the next village. Amina's hands tightened on the steering wheel. The next village was only 3 miles away, a small farming community where she occasionally bought fresh vegetables at the market. Why would he be going there? She kept her distance, her mind racing with possibilities. A secret business meeting, a gambling den, another woman. After 20 minutes, Kunle's car turned down a narrow dirt path lined with modest homes. Amina parked her car at the main road and continued on foot, her heart hammering in her chest. She watched from behind a mango tree as Kunle pulled up to a small, well maintained house with a neat garden. The house was painted yellow, cheerful, welcoming. Smoke rose from the outdoor kitchen. The front door opened before Kunle even reached it, and Amina's world tilted on its axis. A woman stepped out. She was young, perhaps in her late 20s, wearing a traditional wrapper and headscarf. She was beautiful, her face lit up with genuine joy. But it wasn't just the woman that made Amina's knees weak, it was the children. Two children, a boy who looked about 7 and a girl who appeared to be 5, came running out of the house, shrieking, "Papa! Papa!" in voices filled with pure happiness. Kunle scooped them up, one in each arm, laughing and spinning them around. The woman approached him and he kissed her. Not a peck, a real kiss. The kiss of a husband greeting his wife after a long week. Amina couldn't breathe. She pressed her hand against the rough bark of the mango tree to steady herself, tears blurring her vision. This wasn't just an affair. This was another family, another wife, other children. Kunle had been living a double life for how long? The older child looked 7. Had this been going on since before their own daughter was born? Amina watched through tear-filled eyes as Kunle and his other family disappeared into the yellow house. Through the window, she could see them sitting down to a meal together, the picture of domestic happiness. She stumbled back to her car, her mind spinning with questions. Who was this woman? Did she know about Amina? How had Kunle maintained two families just 3 miles apart? And most importantly, what was she going to do now? Amina couldn't go home. Not yet. Not with her children at her mother's house and her husband in another woman's arms. She drove to the village market and parked. She needed answers, and she needed them before confronting Kunle. With shaking hands, she approached an elderly woman selling vegetables, the kind of woman who knew everyone and everything in a small village. "Good evening, Mama," Amina said, her voice surprisingly steady. "I'm looking for information about a family." The yellow house on the path near the old well. The woman's eyes sharpened with interest. "Ah, you mean Babatunde's house? The businessman?" Babatunde Hekunle was known here by a different name, their son's name. "Yes," Amina managed. "The businessman." The old woman leaned closer, her voice dropping to a gossip's whisper. "That is Babatunde and his wife, Folake. Good people. He works in the city, comes home every weekend without fail. Very responsible man. Not like these other husbands who abandon their families." Every word was a knife in Amina's chest. "How long have they been married?" Amina asked. "Oh, maybe 8, 9 years now. I remember when they moved here. She was pregnant with their first child. He bought that house, fixed it up nice. Every Friday he comes home. Every Monday morning he leaves for work. Like clockwork. 9 years. He'd married this woman, this Folek, just a year after marrying Amina. Does he have family elsewhere?" Amina pressed, needing to know if this Folek woman knew about her. The old woman shook her head. "Not that I know. His parents are dead," he once said. "No siblings, just him, his wife, and their 2 children. Model family." So Folak didn't know. She was just as much a victim as Amina. Amina thanked the woman and walked away, her mind reeling. She sat in her car for hours, watching the yellow house from a distance, trying to make sense of the impossible. Kunle had somehow convinced 2 women to marry him, had fathered 4 children, and had maintained this elaborate life for nearly a decade. He divided his time perfectly. Weekdays with Amina and her children, weekends with Folake and hers. The logistics alone was staggering, the emotional deception even more so. As darkness fell, Amina made a decision. She would not confront him immediately. She would not explode in anger and destroy everything in a single moment. Number. She would do something Kunle would never expect. She would meet Folake. The next morning, Amina returned to the village. She waited until she saw Kunle's car leave. He was heading back to the city as he always claimed, which she now knew meant heading to her house, to their life together. She watched him drive away, then walked up the path to the yellow house. Her heart pounded as she knocked on the door. Folak answered, her face friendly and curious. Yes, can I help you? Up close, Amina could see she was younger than she thought, with kind eyes and a gentle demeanor. She was someone Amina might have been friends with under different circumstances. My name is Amina, she said, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. I think we need to talk about Kunle. She watched the confusion cross Folak's face. Kunle, I don't know any. The man you call your husband, Amina interrupted gently, the father of your children, the man who left here an hour ago. The color drained from Folek's face. For a long moment they simply stared at each other. Two women connected by a lie they were only beginning to understand. Please, Amina said softly, may I come in? What followed was the most surreal conversation of Amina's life. The two women sat across from each other at Folak's simple wooden table, and piece by piece they compared their lives. Folak's story mirrored Amina's in heartbreaking ways. She'd met Kunle 9 years ago when he came to her village on business. They'd fallen in love quickly. He told her he was a bachelor, a hard-working businessman with no family. They'd married in a small traditional ceremony. She'd gotten pregnant almost immediately. He said he worked in the city during the week, Folek explained, tears streaming down her face. He always came home on Fridays. Every weekend, he was here. He was a good father, a good husband. How could I have known? You couldn't have, Amina said, her own tears falling. Neither of us could have. They talked for hours, sharing stories, comparing details, their initial shock giving way to a strange sense of solidarity. They were both victims of the same man's elaborate deception. What do we do? Folak finally asked. How do we tell the children? Amina had been thinking about this all night. We expose him, she said firmly, but not just to each other, to everyone. We need to make sure he can never do this to anyone else. They planned carefully. The following Friday, both women prepared for Kunle's arrival, but this time with full knowledge of each other. Amina told Kunle she needed to visit a sick aunt in the next village and would be gone Friday evening. He readily agreed, probably relieved to have his schedule work out so smoothly. But when Kunle arrived at Folek's yellow house that evening, he found more than just his weekend family waiting. He found both his wives, their 4 children, and several village elders Amina had quietly informed of the situation. The look on his face when he walked through the door would stay with Amina forever. The shock, the fear, the desperate calculation as he tried to find a way out of the trap that was closing around him. Folek, what's going on? He stammered. Who are all these people? These people, Folek said, her voice steady despite her tears, are here to witness the truth. Kunle, or should I call you by your other name? Amina stood. His name is Kunle. He's my husband of 10 years, the father of my 2 children, and apparently he's been your husband for 9 years. What followed was ugly. Kunle tried to deny, tried to explain, tried to charm and manipulate, but faced with 2 women who had compared notes, who had evidence, who had made the decision to stand together, his lies crumbled. The village elders were horrified. In their culture, polygamy existed but required honesty, consent, and proper traditional marriage processes. What Kunle had done, deceiving two women, maintaining secret families, was not just morally wrong but legally questionable. You have dishonored both these women, the elders said. You have betrayed your children. What do you have to say for yourself? Kunle had no words. For perhaps the first time in a decade, he had nothing to say. The story of Kunle's double life spread quickly through both communities. The scandal was immense. Amina and Folak made a surprising decision. They would not let Kunle's betrayal destroy them or their children. They filed for divorce, both of them, and they stayed in touch, supporting each other through the difficult process. The children, though confused and hurt, were told the truth in age appropriate ways. Amina and Folake made sure the children knew they had done nothing wrong, that their father's choices were not a reflection of their worth. Kunle lost everything, both families, his reputation. Much of his business as clients distanced themselves from the scandal. He tried to reconcile with both women, but neither would take him back. Trust, once broken this completely, can never be rebuilt. Amina told him during their final conversation. Years later, Amina would reflect on that terrible Friday when she decided to follow her husband. The discovery had destroyed the life she thought she had, but it had also freed her from a lie. She and Folake remained friends, bonded by the strangest of circumstances. Their children grew up knowing each other as half siblings, united by shared experience rather than divided by their father's deception. And Amina learned something she wished she'd known earlier, that sometimes the perfect life you think you have is just a beautiful lie waiting to be exposed. But she also learned that from the ruins of deception, strength can grow, that women supporting women can create something more powerful than any man's betrayal, and that the truth, no matter how painful, is always better than living in a lie. If this story touched you, remember, secrets always come to light, lies always catch up. And if something in your relationship feels wrong, trust your instincts. The signs are always there. The question is whether we choose to see them. What would you have done in Amina's position? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, a relationship built on lies is not a relationship worth having. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell.